Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Fisher, and I'd like to welcome you all to our webinar today, brought to you by Tax Security. I am the Chief Marketing Officer here at Tax Security and have 15 years of experience in the cybersecurity industry, including 5 years as a security auditor. I'm joined today on the panel by William May. He's on our board of directors for North America. He has over 20 years of experience in cybersecurity, including 15 years with IBM as a vice president. And also joined by Lou Guerrero, our Vice President of North America, who has also over 20 years of cybersecurity experience. Welcome, gentlemen. Appreciate your time today. And we're going to be talking today about risk and vulnerability management on a single platform, the future of vulnerability management. So I would like to just point out as a little housekeeping item, there is a Q&A button at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you'll click on that, we're going to be collecting questions from you throughout the course of the webinar, and we'll have a section at the end where we'll answer those questions. So please, if you have questions, use the Q&A function to add them into the chat panel, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. So with that, I think we should go ahead and get started. Since people have signed up, let's be respectful of your time and go to the next slide, please, and we'll start talking about this topic. If we could go to the next slide. So the first thing I'd like to talk about today is your attack surface from two perspectives. On the left is an image that is from the inside out. As a security leader, you are dealing with protecting your organization, your enterprise, with a variety of tools, each of which is designed to address a particular facet of your attack surface. You've got things like your firewalls, you've got your vulnerability assessment tools, your intrusion detection, IAM, and through all these tools are designed to address a particular area of your attack surface, and you're probably using a SOC or some kind of a tool to coordinate, monitor, and respond to all the things that you're finding. And the challenge that you have is that you have to look across all the facets of the attack surface, and you have to be right all the time to protect your organization. On the right-hand side is an image of a multifaceted jewel, and this is the way an outsider, a hacker, would look at your organization as a prize target with many facets that he or she could try and exploit. But really what they're looking for, their opportunity is to find one flaw, one place that they can exploit, and this is how they're going to try and compromise your organization. So again, the challenge for the security leader is you have to manage all facets of this with many tools and many reports and many areas to look at. The attacker just needs to pick one place to look at. So if we go to the next slide, please, let's talk about why this is a problem. As a security leader, you're managing all these different tools. You're getting alerts, you're getting reports, you're getting indicators, and with many tools to manage, it's also possible that you're going to get false positives and alerts if the tools aren't tuned right, where things are coming through and presenting things as issues that your people, if you have too many alerts, you could end up missing something that you should have paid attention to and end up with a compromise. And hopefully it's not something as dramatic as ransomware, but the issue of tool fatigue could lead you to miss something that you should have paid attention to. And if we go to the next slide, we'll talk about what people are doing to address this issue. So this slide is titled Fighting Tool Fatigue with a Platform Solution. And many organizations have taken the approach to security where, as I showed before, you're using a whole lot of tools to manage the different areas of your attack surface, what I would call a best of breed architecture, where you are using the tools that you know and trust to deal with particular areas, and these tools are good at what they do for that particular area. But because they offer a narrow, deep view of that area, it requires aggregation and integration, and it spreads your people thinly across these tools. So what we're seeing in the industry is that people are moving towards platform solutions or platform architecture, which means you've got less places to look for alerts and reports, and you've got analytics across multiple security dimensions, and maybe just less vendor sprawl overall. Cisco actually talks about these platform architectures in three categories. They have what they call solution-based platforms, where a particular solution has been augmented and expanded with additional functionality or data. A next-gen firewall is an example of something like this. Then Cisco talks about SIM or SOAR-based platforms, which are tools that are used to collect and aggregate data from a variety of sources. And the difference between what they call a SIM or SOAR-based architecture is that the SOAR-based architecture has added things like threat intelligence and automated response workflows to that aggregated data. And then finally, Cisco, in their analogy for platforms, talks about a portfolio-based, where you're using a set of tools from a particular vendor that cover multiple security dimensions. And because it's all coming from one vendor, you can integrate those tools effectively. The main point of a platform architecture is that you're looking in one place versus many places, which can drive operational efficiency for your teams and lead to better outcomes in terms of managing security. So if we go to our next slide, we'll look at this from the point of view of vulnerability management. Vulnerability management is moving in the same direction, and it has been over the years. We're all familiar with vulnerability assessment. It's been around for a long time. There have been a variety of tools, starting with open source, that you can use to scan your environments, and you'll get CVSS scores on the vulnerabilities that are found, and then you can work with your IT partners to get those addressed. The challenge has been that over the years, the volume of data associated with traditional VA solutions has become huge. There are too many endpoints, too many vulnerabilities found. Even with some of the categorization of critical, high, medium, low, there's just too much data to look at, and it's too complicated to dig through. And this has given rise over the last few years to what people are now calling modern or risk-based vulnerability management, where the traditional VA assessment has been combined with what's called VPT, or vulnerability prioritization technology, which is intended to give you a risk-based priority versus a priority based on just CVSS scores. And what we're seeing is that vendors have been either adding these capabilities into the traditional solutions, or they are combining them with a solution that offers just vulnerability prioritization to give you some kind of a risk-based view of your vulnerabilities. Where we are at Tax Security is it's time to think about next generation vulnerability management, where we're looking at more data beyond just vulnerability data and prioritization data, where we're pulling in data from a variety of other sources to give you more context around the vulnerabilities that have been found, and to help you with risk scoring and AI rules and machine learning to actually understand, with all that additional data, what vulnerabilities should you address first to have the biggest impact on risk reduction. So that's what we call next generation vulnerability management. It is the future of vulnerability management. And I'd like to go to the next slide and talk about this a little bit from an analyst point of view. On this slide, we're presenting Gartner's risk-based vulnerability management methodology. And you'll notice they call it a methodology. This is from their market guide to VA, which was published in 2019. And this is a holistic process, not a tool or a solution. And you know about, as well as all of us do, that analysts like Gartner are agnostic when it comes to vendors. But what they're proposing here is that you think about vulnerability management as a process, as a methodology, and not as a tool or a solution, where you're taking in data from the widest possible number of sources in the assessment phase. You're complementing your attritional VA data with DAST or VAS or pen test or other sources of data that give you a wider lens to look at vulnerabilities through. And then in the prioritization phase, you'll note that they've added this concept of VPT and combined that with assigned asset value and threat intelligence to provide additional context around what vulnerabilities should be prioritized for action. And then finally, in what they're calling the compensation or management phase, you're deciding based on the risk data, what to patch, what to remediate, or what to accept. There may be vulnerabilities out there that are just not worth dealing with. And then there's a variety of tools and solutions that you can use to help introduce those compensating controls to make sure that you're addressing the highest risk vulnerabilities. So if we go to the next slide, we're going to take a look at this from our point of view. As tax security, we do believe that vulnerability management is a process. It needs to combine data and technology and the process where humans are involved to address the highest risk vulnerabilities and not try and address all vulnerabilities, because we all know that there's just not enough manpower and time to address everything. So again, our perspective is that the data should be from the widest number of sources possible. You should have your CVSS scores, from your infrastructure and application scans, you should have pen tests, you should have third-party assessments, and combine those with things like your change management data, threat intelligence from feeds from the outside to give context to the vulnerabilities that are found, risk and compliance data, incident data, people data, the widest possible collection of data that we can make available to give you a real sense of priority around the vulnerabilities that are found. And then we augment the traditional VA data with AI to help you with a prioritized risk scoring that you can use to pick out the vulnerabilities that have to be patched first to influence risk quickly. We combine the risk scoring with our dashboard and reporting and an analytics engine and machine learning to give you real ability to drill into these vulnerabilities and decide what, if I fix these first, will have the biggest impact on reducing risk in my environment. And then we provide remediation playbooks, which give you tailored remediation to address those highest impact vulnerabilities. So if we could go to the next slide, please. We combine these concepts into our platform, ESOP, which is Enterprise Security in One Framework. And ESOP is a risk and vulnerability management platform. It's the best one in the industry to give you that wide view of data from many, many vectors and look at vulnerabilities across your entire IT stack, from infrastructure, web applications, mobile applications, incident data, people data, GRC data, change data, all of this data combined into one platform to give you a clear view on what you should do first to address vulnerability and risk in your environment. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Will and have him highlight some of the main features of our ESOP platform so that you can understand it better. Will?
Yep, thank you, Chris. I really appreciate that. And thanks everybody for joining. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take you through a series of slides that, for lack of a better description, provide different perspectives from a demo I gave a little while ago that should be out there online. We're around ESOP. I was able to walk through it live and show you one-on-one what exactly it does, how it looks, and how dynamic it really is. So bear with me as I go through this. Obviously, this is more of a slide presentation, so you'll see a screenshot. But what you're looking at is actual views from ESOP that are as dynamic and as rich as they should be. So getting into this, starting off from the top here, what you're looking at is, basically security leaders have lots of products that they're using. Now, this is only a very, very thin slice of the products that are in most enterprises today. I've seen upwards of 50 plus tools in some people's portfolios. And that's just a myriad to take care of. And it's a heck of a job for the CISOs to manage, really, in their stack and having to keep their heads wrapped around it. What you're going to see here from this slide is you're going to see numbers 2.45, 1.87, 3.89. You're going to see things like that in ESOP. We do put scores up against these, against different aspects of your IT stack in ways that it's categorized that make sense for your business, for your enterprise, for your department, just depending on what you're looking at. But I just want you to get comfortable with what those numbers really mean. And obviously you can see some of the key players out there. We've got Qualys, we've got Fortinet, ArcSight, Fortify, you name it, it's out there. And this is where the benefit of ESOP really comes into play, where it either can work with and integrate or take the place of something that may be out there today and allow you to work more off of one platform. Right now you're going to have to monitor, the different notifications, the scores. You've got to manage between different tools. ESOP's really going to let you do this all in one place and really let you look at a single score. It could be a single score, quite honestly, at the enterprise level. It can be a score down at the department level. It can be a score down at the stakeholder level or the asset level. And all of this stuff nicely comes together and gives you the visual that you need to get real clarity. And the other side of the coin of this is that it's in real time. So that's the beauty of what you're looking at. Many of these things you're going to see are going to be a slate or a point in time. This is going to be more in real time. Okay, as we move to the next slide, please. Now what we have is more of looking at it from the business unit. I kind of highlighted it before we hit this, but what we're looking at here are a description based on some of the things you put together. You got the AppSec score, people score, infrastructure score, the incident score, risk and compliance score. All of these do get a single score, and you can configure this to what's relevant for you. And on the flip side of this, you also can get it in a color variance that allows you to allow your eyes to go directly to what's red or something that's critical or high to medium or low. Doesn't mean that things medium low aren't things you're going to be looking at, but it obviously lets you look at things from a priority perspective, which is extremely relevant. Next slide, please. Now what we have is you can create, oh, hang on one second, I actually missed a slide here. Now what you have is you're looking at your score over time. Oh no, I'm sorry, I've got a bad slide, so guys, bear with me. I'm juggling here. Again, we're looking at the business unit. Here's where you're able to create level business units. From before, we had a categorization. Here are business units that you created, names that you've assigned, things you want to look at. Again, you can say business unit, you can say department, you can even say companies if you're looking at an enterprise level. But you can actually look at these and assess the security posture of each of these independently, as well as looking at the entire enterprise altogether. For example, you have mobile subsidiaries, departments. Be helpful for you to have a visibility into the security posture for each of them. And with each of these, you're able to go in and drill down on it. So you want to know why your 1.5 is 1.5. We can drill down into there and see which aspects, which assets, which domains are the areas that have the most risk based on the score that we've given them. Next slide, please. This is a slide I accidentally jumped to, and I apologize for that. But now you can also see your score over time. This is actually, you're tracking as things go up and as they go down. As everybody knows, it's not normally a linear line with regards to how things happen over history. Things are added to the system, things are taken away, things change, threat actors change. So it's important to get a feel for the different activities that are taking place to really shore up your security postures, to get a feel for where things maybe popped up, where things went down, and even getting a feel for what was done during those periods of time, what happened, what were those key critical aspects that need to be taken into consideration that you put into your standard operating procedures, into your policies. Companies invest millions of dollars in cybersecurity. Quite honestly, the CISOs and CIOs need to get to the point to be able to showcase this ultimately to their management teams as well as to the board. So being able to see trends like this is also very critical. Obviously, as I mentioned before, so you can really drill down and see what was done. You may know, but you may not have a key idea as to what happened. Why did it go up in January 11th or June 9th through January 11th? What was what kind of activities were going on? And ultimately, when it came down again through June 15th through June 17th, what were the things that we did that helped us improve the posture? Just getting a better feel for things that have happened as well as activities and policies that need to be put in place to shore that up. Next slide, please. ESOP, our product, gives you the ability to prioritize. Whoops, wait a minute. You guys are on a different page than me. That's my bad, guys. I apologize for my hopping. You take a look at a slide like this, a report like this. This could be a screen, it could be a generated report. I don't care if it's a PDF, it's a paper. We've all seen them. These are great. They give you detail, but what does it really tell you? This is really traditional. And some of these, and I know many of us have seen these reports, they can be reams and reams of paper. And what do they really help us with? It requires a lot of time and effort, and it's usually just a snapshot. Once this is done, this is done for that period of time, that second, that moment. As time goes on, these things change. It's not as dynamic as it needs to be. It doesn't provide the clarity we need. And, especially when we need to know what's important and what do we need to be focusing on from a priority perspective. Next slide, please. Thank you. Our product, ESOP, gives you that ability to prioritize these assets from a visibility perspective, let you focus in on those vulnerabilities, the ones that are high risk. And it gives you a cleaner perspective, a cleaner view on where your groupings are from a security posture perspective. Again, the color coding is key, but you'll see that along with being color coded, and this was something I actually asked to be added into the product, you can see where it says it's red, it's high. Okay, you get that. Or C is critical, or you got 3, 2, 1 with regards to your low to mediums on the right-hand side. All color coded, but the reason you've got the high and the letter codings, I want everybody to be aware of this, is I've actually worked with several executives in the past, senior executives, who were colorblind, and that did not help them at all to see colors. So we made sure that not only was it color coded for our purposes, people that can see color, but for people that don't, obviously, for those have that disability, you're able to also discern exactly where you need to be looking, and then put it in a priority type of view so that you're looking at your most critical aspects at the top. And these reports, these screens can be generated at the drop of a hat whenever they're needed. So again, it's not just a report that's got to sit there and be read and distilled, and of course, week to weeks, it might become old and dated. These are very dynamic. Next slide, please. Now you're looking at a history trend. One thing I should call out is that is up to 5 years of history, going to when you actually brought ESOP online into your system. This allows you to get a feel for where you've been trending, where you've been tracking. Again, like a view you saw before, one of those screens showed the trend. Here's another perspective, a longer period of time. And as I mentioned, it can be from when ESOP was installed or bought online, up to 5 years of history, which is a lot more robust than just about any other product you're going to find out there in the market today. We're very proud of this aspect, but it lets you see the pattern and the type of vulnerabilities that have been found for any period of time. You can take it down to monthly, quarterly, annually. It's fantastic to be able to really shape this and also see it again from its color coordinated aspects, so that you can see where the criticality and low priority items actually fall. Next slide, please. Now with AutoScan, you're really able to take a look at your priorities, your high vulnerabilities, your assets against defined SLAs you have for each team. So these can be defined by you and configured so that you're able to really take a look at what the scans are telling you, where you sit at any one given time. This is a good screenshot from ESOP for this one report, but definitely something that's, like I said, mentioning, it's real time. So AutoScan is something that's working there in the background at all times, as well as giving you the total numbers of items that you would have defined for that given area. So you can see that the 2 versus the 10,717 or the 974 total number of items are actually falling within that population, within that slice. Next slide, please. Now we have a people score. Kind of interesting, but this is for your personnel, for your stakeholders. It's for anybody that has access to your system. You can obviously run a phishing simulation built into ESOP and have the individual risk scores for your users, looking at them from a user perspective or even a department perspective. to get a feel for, how the policies that you have in place have been effective or haven't been, where the areas you may have most risk, just by looking at reports like this. So you're getting away from assets and looking more from a stakeholder perspective and those that actually have and gain access to your system on a regular basis. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, with millions of incidents on networks each day, ESOP helps you to stop violations and violators with your company and or firm. A clear, robust incident and risk scoring in a real-time view for your company with ESOP. So definitely something that I feel is extremely relevant. It provides capabilities and a view, more actionable, real-time view of what you need to be looking at and prioritizing into your day-to-day work. As we know, this is not something that you do weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. This is something that really needs to be looked at on a daily basis. And ESOP allows you to really see this stuff in real time and put the crosshairs where they need to be by giving you those types of capabilities and those views. And with that, I am going to stop and go on mute and pass this over to Lou so he can pick up with the back end of this presentation. Lou, over to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, William. Can you please move to the next slide? So what I'm going to be covering is really quickly just an overview of some of the success stories. I'll also follow up and provide as to why the tax security risk-based management tool is a necessity in today's market. Here is a slide which basically describes all the vendors that we're able to work with, right? And this is very important because obviously, there are many organizations out there that have invested into a multitude of dollars into these types of tools. And so we allow the opportunity to have our product basically get integrated or snapped onto these tools that you already have and are potentially, are using some of these that you see on the screen. So we provide that availability, which is very nice because like I said, there's an expenditure here that has been used, and so there's no need to forklift any of these products off your environment, and we work seamlessly in providing the deeper layers of security vulnerability of what we do, and as what William had mentioned in terms of how we do that across the board. Next slide, please. So here is just a customer success story. This is the state of New Mexico. They were tasked to provide specific information from a vulnerability standpoint, and they needed to have a tool that allowed them to provide complete visibility across all their applications. And so when they had reviewed and tested our solution, they found that the solution was exactly what they were looking for, unlike what they've seen in the marketplace today. And it really helped them to understand their core competency in terms of what their cyber risk is across their applications. And also what it did is that not only did it provide the necessary information and the data that they were obviously looking to get, but it also provided them with the ability to help them understand where were they from a security posture standpoint, and really where do they need to be moving forward. And we provided that entire architecture, that entire platform for them, and they were very happy with what they saw, and more happier once they got the tool implemented into their environment. Next slide, please. So here is some other success stories. As you can see, we have one on top here that That is a large size company in terms of the revenue size, and they're in the financing vertical space. And as you can read here, but I'm not going to read per word, but what they were looking for is they were looking to provide a ease of use to visually see their entire vulnerability platform management. And so with our tool and the ability to provide the complete automation to providing these types of management services for them, they were able to see exactly what they were looking for, unlike what they were using in the past. And so we provided a level of certainty for them to be very comfortable in terms of what our tool was able to identify. And with the ESOP platform, that is the core technology there that allows that to happen. And the one on the bottom is similar type of client here. They're in the financing market, and the same success story there is that they had a challenge to really kind of understand, provide more of an efficient type tool than what they already had. And the ESOP provided that efficiency and the ability to detect and to understand where their threats are, where were they coming from, and provide that proactiveness that we're able to provide from the ability of our solution. Next slide, please. So just quickly, after this webinar is completed, we are going to have a dedicated demo, recorded demo on our page here that we're going to be able to provide to anyone that is interested in reviewing that. William May, who just spoke, is going to be responsible for that portion of it. So feel free to reach out to us if you're looking to retrieve that. Next slide, please. So tax security is also going to be at Black Hat, which is we're going to be out there in the first week of August. As you see here, we're going to be participating. This is a fantastic security event. If you've not been there, it's highly recommended. We're going to be, as you see here on the screen, at booth number IC90. So we hope to see to meet with anyone there. I'll be there. So I hope to get the opportunity to meet and speak with you a little bit further about the ESOP platform and, more importantly, about tax security. Thank you. Also, I'm sorry, one other slide here. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Here we go. So really quickly here, I think what I want to end it is with this. I think this is very, very important, is that when you're evaluating a vulnerability tool, it's very important. In fact, it's vital important that you have the technology that is able to detect, remediate all kinds of vulnerabilities. And we do that in a very proactive fashion. The tax security next generation risk-based vulnerability management solution provides that ability to prioritize the risk, initiate a risk score across your entire platform, and that includes both your internal and external infrastructure across all your applications, across your source code. And that's very important because many of the, if you have developers on staff, obviously their focus is not security, right? I mean, their focus is to develop the application, get it out to production, get it in play, and really that's all their focus is. They're not focused around around security. So when you're developing these types of applications, there are certainly security gaps that come with it, and we're able to provide the level of detecting the vulnerability, potential vulnerability within these source code, and also is the people, and which William had reviewed and discussed about. And the last thing is your SIMs. So we're able to identify and detect any vulnerabilities that might be that your SIM might miss as well. So it's, as I mentioned, this is a very next gen, I call it futuristic product that is really a need in today's environment, and it's a very powerful tool that will allow security awareness needed to not just to protect you from these vulnerabilities, but it's also to provide the need and the assessment to understand where you are currently within your security posture and where you need to be. And I think that's very, very important in today's assessment when you're looking at specific tools. The last thing I now want to also say is that additionally, if any organizations that are on this call that is working with a dedicated partner, please refer them to sales@taxsecurity.com. Tax Security is a channel-focused company, so we work with our channel partners, and we will welcome any new potential channel partner and love to speak with them and work with them. I now would like to hand this over to Arivi. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Will. This is Chris Fisher again. I just wanted to say thanks to all those who attended today. We are going to turn now to our Q&A section, and Bhairavi will, as our moderator, read any of the questions we've collected in the chat function, and we will answer them for you at this time. So Bhairavi, do we have some questions from the chat function?
Hello, Chris. Thank you for the introduction. So we've collected some of the frequently asked questions here. The first one is, can we add more connectors as per our requirement? Which one of you would like to take that?
So I'm happy to answer that question at a high level. Yes, if your tools have APIs, we can connect to them, and that is, one of the things we didn't mention about tax security is we have an extensive background in services and services around vulnerabilities and integrations. So yes, we can add connections to additional tools. I think it wasn't highlighted very well on the slide, but we do that with our customers. Customer success is our highest priority, so yes, we can add new connectors.
Okay, thank you, Chris. The next one we have is, can we create multiple teams, and business teams and tech teams, allotment for cases for easier business alignments? I'd like to repeat that. Can we create multiple business teams and tech teams for easier business alignments?
And this is Will. The answer to that is yes. As I showcased in my piece, and you'll see it in the demo, is that you can configure this from the enterprise on down the way you need. It could be enterprise to business unit to division to department. It really has the flexibility to be segmented and configured in the manner that works best for you. So it's one thing you want to give some thought to about what you're trying to get to at the end of the day, so that as you're going from the top down, that you actually have those segmentations created and you get those views and the reporting from the screen perspective, what you're looking for. But yes, it's there. That capability is very simple to put in place, and then once it's in place, it is literally point and click and drill down.
Yeah, and this is Chris. I would just add, one of our case studies, a success story from one of our customers in India, highlights this very question, which is the CISO there wanted to make sure that he could drill down to the different business units and see the risk scores at each business unit level, and have the teams there have role-based access to their view of the business and the vulnerabilities they were addressing. He used it for communication, and he used it to improve the postures across some of the business units he was concerned with.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Will, for answering that. The next one we have, does it have the ability, does ESOP have the ability to scan web applications? Which one of you would like to take that?
Well, it's not too open-ended. The answer is yes. But that's one part of the asset configuration segmentation we have. So yes, web applications are definitely considered part of what's inside the domain and what touches the system. So absolutely 100% yes.
The next one is, can we integrate with ServiceNow?
Yes, again. It goes back to the integration play. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm damn sure ServiceNow is in there. I know Qualys and quite a slew of others are already built and ready to go with ESOP. And as Chris had mentioned, any one of the APIs, as long as there's a public API for it, we can connect to just about anything, but ServiceNow is yes.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, I think that's all we've received so far.
So I'd just like to say thanks again to Will and Lou for helping me present today. And I want to also say thank you to all of you who joined us. I know you're all extremely busy, working hard to protect your organizations. We appreciate you taking the time to hear us. As Lou said, we are available to answer your questions. You can reach out to us through multiple ways on the website to contact us or phone us. And we are going to be at Black Hat, as Lou said, both physically and virtually. So you're welcome to drop by and visit us at Black Hat to collect any information or get any more of your questions answered. We'd be happy to talk to you. Again, I think one of the most important things that I want to say is in this next generation platform, the idea of a risk score that you can use to communicate across your organization and understand your risk posture in real time is vitally important. I can't tell you how many people that I've worked with over the years that struggle with that. And when they go to the board and try and present their security posture and produce a bunch of reports on technologies, people's eyes glaze over. A score that you can say, hey, it's better today than it was yesterday, goes a long way to helping you communicate the value of what you do every day to protect your organizations. And so with that, I want to say thanks again for joining us. We look forward to helping you with your security efforts. Please let us know if there's anything we can do. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.